I'm going to survive the next 100 days in hardcore Minecraft on this small island, which means I'll have to find food, build a base, and fight off any challenge that comes my way. This is 100 days in hardcore Minecraft. Spawning into my island on day 1, I immediately began exploring, only to come to realize that there wasn't a single tree on this island with me. Thankfully, there was another small island offshore that carried 2 beautiful oak trees, so as soon as I got there, I started breaking them. I also made sure before heading back to our island to grab a sapling so we can grow some trees of our own. Once we got back, it was time to mine some stone so we could start making ourselves some stone tools. I also noticed there was some exposed coal on the side of the hill, so I made quick work of mining that as it would be very important for us surviving. Right after mining, I noticed it was becoming night fast and decided to make a small hole in the wall to ensure that this video does not end on night 1. During the night, I pretty much just started digging down in hopes of finding a cave until a zombie ended up breaking down my door and I was forced to fight him. Thankfully, he did drop a piece of iron that I immediately used to make a shield for some extra insurance. While exploring the outer rims of the island, I ended up finding an underwater structure thing that ended up giving me a fishing rod that could be great in helping us capture some food. It was then back to the caves, and after coming up short for so long, I decided upon a different strategy of looking for an underwater cave instead. Thankfully, I ended up finding iron in an underwater passageway and I quickly mined it up and took it back to base. I ended up using my iron making a bucket so I could help make my crops grow a little bit faster as they are essential to my survival. On day 3, my lack of wood was severely halting my progress, so I decided it was time to venture to a new island in hopes of finding a forest of mine. On my way, I ended up finding pumpkins and coal, and then it was time to start chopping. I also decided to grab some sand too, since there wasn't very much on my island and I had to take advantage of it. Once I got back, I thought it was time to start showing love to the base that had been keeping me alive, so I made it this entrance way to make sure the base looked a little bit more appealing on entrance. I feel like I got a lot of plans for building on this island, but this will serve us well for now. Day 4, we finally ended up finding a cave, and after fighting off 2 skeletons, we were able to get some more resources to keep us from dying. Once I got back to the surface, I smelted all our iron and made myself a full set of iron armor. Day 5 to 6, I spent most of the day exploring, with even coming across a spruce forest, which is huge to have considering how often I build with that type of wood. I quickly ended up killing sheep for a bed and grabbed 2 stacks of wood before heading home. I made sure to plant a sapling when I got back and began flattening the middle part of our island to make a larger area to build these sort of like farm plot things. I'm honestly not sure if I like the look of them, but oh well. I then spent the rest of the day back in the mines grabbing some more coal and iron. My only goal on day 7 and 8 was to find diamonds, and after searching for not even that long, I ended up finding a couple badges and immediately made a diamond pickaxe. I also wanted to find some obsidian, but for some reason ever since the Caves and Cliffs update, it's been really hard to find lava pools underground, but luckily I did find one by the spruce biome, so I ended up traveling over there and placing some water and starting to mine. After collecting all my obsidian, I built myself a nether portal, but I wasn't brave enough to face that yet, so I decided to hold off going in. I also made an enchantment table as well as some bookshelves so we can try and get a head start in getting fortune on our pickaxe. I decided it was time to show some more love to the shack by filling out the interior with some wood strip logs and placing some more storage chests. The rest of the day was spent pretty much mining wood and clearing out an area for a future villager trading hall. On days 11 to 13, I started working on the hall using a mix of logs, glass, and slabs to create this circular house. I also made sure while I was doing this to keep farming my cows since we needed their leather to upgrade the enchantment room. Speaking of leather, on day 14 we went to the nether to trade with some piglins gold in exchange for some leather, which worked out great. I then went home and almost finished off getting level 30 on the enchantment table. Following this, it was time for our first XP farm on this world, so I traveled a couple hundred blocks away to start building this super ugly farm with any blocks I could find. It honestly proved to be effective despite the design, and it really helped me get some levels that I desperately needed. Once I got level 30, I went back home and enchanted our pickaxe, and unfortunately didn't get fortune on the first time around, so I built a grindstone and started getting back to work to get fortune. On my second time around, it ended up getting silk touch, which I really wanted, so I decided to make an extra pickaxe and I finally got what I wanted on it. Once I finally got my fortune, it was time to head back to the mines where I could stock up on some more diamonds. This was all the resources I ended up bringing back with me, and I wasted no time turning all those diamonds into tools and armor. I pretty much just spent the next couple days trying to get levels so I can upgrade our tools and armor. On day 23, it was finally time to finish off our villager trading hall so we can start getting some mending books to keep our tools from breaking. I'm super happy the way it turned out, and here's what it looked like at the end. Around day 25, I tried my hand at going into the nether, which I unfortunately ended up losing the footage for, but I basically just went for blaze rods and nether wart, which I found pretty easily. Days 26 to 30 was spent working on trying to finally get some villagers on my island, and instead of stealing them from the village, I decided I wanted to try and cure them as they came down from the mob spawner. After curing the first one, I turned him into a Fletcher and relocated him into our hall to keep him safe. After a couple days, I finally got our third villager, and I ended up making him a librarian, and after taking quite a long time, I finally got him to sell me mending book for a whopping 1 emerald. I made sure to buy a bunch of books and build an anvil so I can put mending on all my gear. I spent pretty much all of day 4 just mining deep slate for our build on day 35, which involved building retaining walls around the whole island. I honestly love the way the finished design turned out, and I think it really adds a lot to the outside of the island. On day 39, I decided to travel to the nether in hopes of finding a wart forest where I can find some endermen. Thankfully we had looting 3 on our sword, so it was quick work to get all the pearls that we needed. As soon as we got back, I turned the pearls into Eyes of Ender and began the search for the stronghold. I ended up finding the library pretty fast, and I managed to mine as much books as I possibly could. After walking around for a bit longer, I finally found the portal room, and it was time to take down the dragon for good. Once the dragon was dead, I made sure to grab the dragon egg and headed straight to the end gateway since I was dying to get an elytra. After searching for not that long, I ended up finding my first end city, which unfortunately didn't have an elytra ship, but I did end up getting a good amount of shulker shells. Luckily enough, there was a second end city not too far away, and this one ended up having the elytra with it. I honestly think this piece of armor is one of the most game-changing things this game has ever added, so I'm really excited to try it out. Once I got back, I started using my elytra to explore around to collect some dirt so I could fill in some of the empty holes around my island. On day 43, I started working on building this storage shed, and I honestly don't really like the way it turned out, so it didn't really last long on our island, but here's a quick time lapse of me building it. On the days in between, I ended up making a second build, which is a giant tree overlooking our island. I definitely ended up adding a few more features as time went on, but this is kind of the gist of what the build looked like. On days 62 to 67, I took our elytra exploring in hopes of finding a lush cave where I can grab some moss, glowberries, and other resources. I can honestly say this is some of the best additions Minecraft has ever added to the game, and I'm so happy they exist. And I think they're especially going to look good hanging from our tree. Once I got back to the island, it was yet again time to start a new building project, which included building a new house for myself to get out of that hole in the wall. Our original starter house did as well, but I think it's just time to expand a little bit and get some more room going for ourselves. If you're ever interested in building this for yourself, I did upload a video on my channel including a tutorial on how to build it. This is what the final build ended up looking like, and I'm super happy with the way it looks. After the build was finished, I finally decided it was time to start organizing my inventory a little bit, so I spent the next couple days doing that. Around day 65, I ended up up starting a new build which included making a tower overlooking our island. This honestly wasn't an easy build to do, especially the roof, considering I'd never really done anything like this before, but I'm honestly super happy with the way the build ended up turning out, and this is what the final product looked like. From days 67 to 74, I had one goal, and that was to end up finding a totem of undying. With the way I fly around with this elytra, I seriously did not trust myself to not run myself into a wall and die, so I figured getting a totem would definitely help us out. Luckily, I did end up finding a woodland mansion earlier in the series, but unfortunately for some reason the only thing that spawned in here was zombies and skeletons, which pretty much meant I needed to take a different approach for trying to get one. So that's where my second idea came in of doing a raid. I've honestly never done a raid in this game before, so I was nervous going into it, but I figured if I just brought enough arrows I'd be able to shoot down on everybody that came in. Unfortunately, this idea didn't really work out too well for me, considering I have some of the worst aim in the world. I definitely did have my fair share of close calls during this raid. I honestly couldn't get over how strong these Vexes were. Even with full diamond armor, they managed to get me over to 1 heart. So if you're ever doing a raid in Minecraft, make sure your bow has an infinity. I still did end up getting 4 totems, which I'm extremely happy about. Around day 74, I decided it was finally time to start upgrading our mob farm a little bit. With adding an extra layer, it would pretty much double the amount of spawns we were getting to make it a lot faster to heal our tools with mending. I honestly don't know why I didn't build an enderman farm on this world, considering how much I was struggling with healing my tools, but that sounds like something I'd love to do in some future projects. Around day 75, I ended up taking my talents to the nether in hopes of getting some wither skulls. Considering that our sword had looting, I honestly didn't think it would take that long to get the skulls, but I was completely wrong. I found a video online saying that if you mine out a 12 by 12 square, it can make it really easy to farm wither skulls. I honestly can't attest if that's actually true, but it kinda worked for me. I ended up getting my first skull around 20 kills, and I got my last one around 120. I had this death scare when I was trying to leave, and I can honestly say it was the closest I came to dying in these 100 days. In all fairness, no, I probably shouldn't have hit the piglin. This frame alone pretty much makes me never want to come back to the nether. After I returned home, I made some golden carrots and began to dig down to bedrock. Once I got there, it was time to take down the wither once and for all. I can't be the only one that thinks that the Wither is just the worst boss in this game. Like, I honestly never have any trouble with him. Maybe I just fight him in a weird way, but he went down pretty easily. Around day 80, I ended up building a beacon, and I also decided I wanted to make the base out of emerald blocks, considering I had so much of them. I had 2 builds I wanted to make in the last 20 days of this world, with one being a bee farm and the other being a place where we can place our beacon. With it being the last 20 days and all, I decided I didn't really want to commit to anything big, so I decided to just do a kind of smaller version of the tower we built earlier. The only thing I really ended up doing different was adding stone bricks instead of regular stone, which I think still looks pretty good. I know it's nothing crazy, but I think for the time we had left, it should serve its purpose. And this is what the final build ended up looking like. Moving on to the bee farm now, I found this image on Google that I really liked and I wanted to replicate in my world. Again, similar to the beacon, I didn't want to commit to anything larger, so I decided to just do one main house. I've also never made a bee farm before or harvested anything that bees give, so there was a bit of a learning curve for me. Like, when I tell you I spent the last 10 days of this world just grinding beeswax, I'm not kidding. But I honestly think it's worth it because I love the way this turned out and I could definitely see myself building more farms in the future. Now that the 100 days are over, I think it's only fair I give you guys a quick tour of the island. I can confidently say that during the time of making this video, I learned a lot about Minecraft and YouTube in general, and I want to thank anyone who's made it this far because your support goes a long way. I'm thinking about turning this world into kind of like a weekly series type of thing for the future, and considering like my game is like 4 updates behind, it would be cool to experience some of the new blocks they brought in. I also got much better at making builds too, which I know I can share the credit to the block series, but survival and creative are just so different at the same time. I'm also going to leave the seed in the description in case anyone wants to try their hand at building an island like I did. Anyways, I feel like I yapped long enough, so I'll see you guys in the next upload. Peace.